Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I'm going to answer the question of can the safety bar box squat completely replace the back squat with a barbell for a lot of athletes? And I'm going to say the answer here is yes. I'm going to make some caveats here, and this will upset a lot of people, but what I want people to think about is it really depends on why we're squatting. Are we squatting for the purposes of maximally developing our lower body? Well, if that's our goal, hypertrophying the lower body, I don't think the back squat's necessarily the best exercise for that goal. It certainly can play a role. It can play a role. And obviously, me being a power lifter, I do place a lot of value on it as a competitive lift. But there's a lot of exercises that develop the lower body. I don't use back squats to develop my lower body maximally. I used to. I don't anymore. I use a lot of lifts. I use a variety of supplemental lifts to do this. And a lot of them can do it with a whole lot less fatigue, overall fatigue to your body. So why are a lot of athletes squatting? Force development of our lower body, right? In this case, I'm doing speed boxes, right? Speed box squats against bands with the safety bar. Now, if our goal is a rate of force production, back squat can't compete with that. It's not even close. Right? Not even close. And the same thing when I'm testing maxes. Again, you build a big max on any sort of safety bar squats, even box squats, what's going to happen? Your back squat's going to go up. You'll need to practice it a bit. You'll need to get used to the position. But if you build up to where you have a 600-pound box squat with a safety bar, even if it's slightly high, does anyone out there realistically think you're going to have a back squat that isn't over 600 pounds? I want people to think about that one for a moment. It's a harder exercise using the same muscles. Now, people say, well, you might not be able to support the loads. Really? Because your upper back gets more developed on a safety bar than it does on a back squat, it requires greater thoracic spine strength to lift the same weight. So that's not going to cut it. Not going to cut it at all. To come back over to, well, then if we're back to force production, speed boxes with the safety bar have a much higher rate of force production. They develop way more explosiveness than a back squat does. So why are athletes squatting? The other question I would ask is your athlete going to clean? If an athlete's going to clean, front squats become really useful, don't they? They become very useful. Why? Because you have to do a front squat when you catch the weight on a clean. Especially a full clean. You drop into a full front squat. Might not be a bad idea to get some practice doing that with heavy weights. Okay? Now, a lot of people say, yeah, but also we get that upper back, that T-spine from the front squat. That can't compete with the safety bar. Are you trying to compare the two? Safety bar doesn't have a learning curve of that. We don't have to work on our wrist or our shoulder mobility or our rack position to get 100% of those benefits. We don't have to develop another skill set or attribute to do it. We can just get under the bar and do it. So unless you're going to clean, front squat's superior to the safety bar. And I get that. If you're going to have an athlete clean, if an athlete's going to perform clean as part of their training, as a vital part of their training, by all means, you're going to want to do some front squats. But if they aren't, safety bar completely replaces it. Come back over to trying to develop force production. The safety bar on a box is a superior tool. It's a way superior tool. Same thing, we can come over and talk about, well, what about handling heavy weight up top? Well, we're already covered with that. The safety bar builds the T-spine with lighter weights more effectively than the straight bar does. Get similar lower body development, and we do it with slightly less weight. And we can develop the rest of our lower body hypertrophy with exercises that are easier to recover from, like split squats, step ups, lunges, We can hypertrophy all the same muscles as squats do with those, with way less fatigue, and then use the box squats with the safety bar to develop our rate of force production. Now, some people will say, well, but what's the point? What's the advantage? It's easier on your shoulders. It is way less stress on your shoulders. What if you have an athlete who needs their shoulder health? And this one will upset some. How about power lifters being one of those athletes? Bench pressing puts a lot of stress on your shoulders. Heavy benching puts a lot of stress on your shoulders. Using a safety bar will give your shoulders a break so you can work on your benching more. All right, let's talk about other athletes though. How about throwing athletes? Well, trying to do a bunch of low bar squats for throwing athletes and tear their shoulders up. It's going to be a problem. How about boxers? And how about fighters who need to punch? Okay. This bar is superior for that. And one of the reasons this bar is used is even for football players. Years ago, it was used early on by them. Right? We have the football bar. A lot of football players have a lot of shoulder injuries just from their sport alone. American football players. Hence the invention of the football bar or the Swiss bar. Right? It's easier on the shoulders. This bar falls right in the same category. These bars allow athletes who have a lot of shoulder inflammation, maybe some shoulder injuries, to continue to bench heavy and to squat heavy with less stress on the shoulder joint and rotator cuffs. These bars exist for a reason. They're extremely useful. And I mean, when you really think about it, what is the only real reasons why we have people back squat with a barbell, with a straight bar? It has a higher learning curve, just learning to get your everything set correctly. It's because they don't have access to the specialty bars. That's it. They do not have access. Or they need specificity of training, right? They need to learn that for competitive powerlifting specifically. But there's a lot of competitive powerlifters who do most of their squatting with the safety bar. I know quite a few, and I'm talking elite guys. Again, we're talking guys with 700, 800 plus pound raw squats who do more squatting with this bar than they do with the straight bar. People are telling me this can't replace it. And I'm not saying the barbell's a bad tool. But if we have access to these other tools, and if you can get access to them, for a lot of purposes, they're better. A lot of purposes, they're better. Less injury issues. Shores up a lot of weak links better. Easier on your shoulders in general. Just playing devil's advocate here and saying, look, we have options. And I don't think there's anything wrong with a back squat, by the way. I think it's a fantastic exercise, and it's been argued it's the king of exercises. I used to say that. But you know what? We have a lot more tools and methods that have been developed in the last 50 years. 50 years ago it was. 40 years ago. Sports science, innovation, things have changed. We have other tools available. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.